Elevate TV, advancing kingdom lifestyle.
Welcome to Man Unveiled, a show that comes to you every Wednesday, 8 to 9. I'm Joe Wisdom, your host, and so delighted again to come to you as we had agreed last time. We'll always be here to shape the life of a man. And this is what we agreed, that we are not here to fight men. We are here to build men. I know there are many programs, I know there are many forums that men have really been fought. But we want to take this opportunity to build you as a man, right there in your sitting room, right there in your office, or wherever you are watching us from. We want to build you as a man so that you can take your position and reign as you are created to do. I am a man, and I have always said that it takes a man to get the best out of another man. This is a very wonderful evening, and today we are looking at a topic that is very, very close to my heart. As a man thinketh. Hashtag. So let's share on our media platforms, social media platforms. If you are watching us on Facebook, on YouTube, please share with your friends. Let another man know what you are eating. It is very bad when your friends know what you are eating alone. Please share and let us reach out to as many men. Let's build this community where men are being built to be all that they were created to be. With me tonight, I have a friend of mine, a friend of many years. We have done so much with him, and he is an educationist. He is also an accountant. He is a counseling psychologist. He is so many things. And today we have the best of the best. And we thank God for bringing us Mwalimu George Kimani.
Thank you so much.
Karibu sana.
Apostle Joe Wisdom.
Yes, sir.
It's a great joy for me to be in this great show.
Yes.
Where we are seeking to build man.
Yes.
It is a very, very cardinal duty.
Yes.
Because if you look at statistics, you realize that society now has ignored the boy child. But it's the high time now we focused on the boy child and be able to build them so that they can take the position that God originally intended them. Allow me to first of all say hi to my dear wife, Margaret. I know she's watching together with our children in Don Home, and I want to thank them for the great support that they have been giving us. I also want to take this opportunity to say hi to our viewers. It's a great joy for you to be viewing us, to be watching us. We believe that you are going to benefit from this show. It's a great topic. It's a great topic. As a man thinketh, so he is. So don't move, just remain focused there, and I believe that there is a lot in store that God has prepared for you today.
Yes, thank you so much for that introduction. And possibly because you have dealt with men, I know you are a mentor, and from your background, the counseling, psychology, I know you have dealt with the issues. And we have seen so many things happening to the boy child and to men. We have seen a man waking up one day and eliminating the entire family and committing suicide. You know, and these are things that people are treating normally. And as one of our ministers, former ministers, kept saying, that if we treat this thing normally, it will treat us abnormally.
Yes.
So things are no longer normal, and we must give them the attention that that it deserves. So I want us to delve into this topic and look at how does the thinking of a man determines the course of his life. Does it really affect?
It affects to a great detail. And as a counseling psychologist,
yes,
I can confidently confirm what you have said. That men have been greatly affected by suicidal cases.
Yes.
If you look at statistics worldwide, the proportion of men compared with the proportion of women who are committing suicide, the one of men is the highest, is higher. And this is something that is worrying. And when you start now looking at why do people commit suicide, you will come to a point where you find that it is in the mind. Because suicide happens when someone comes to a point and death is the only better option that remains to them. Now, when death becomes the only better option, it means that the thinking process has come to an end. The mind of this man cannot see any other possible option other than death. Now, why does the mind come to an end? We need then to go back to the mind and start looking at the thinking process. Because if the thinking process is okay, if the mind is okay, it will be able to function and be able to provide various options, excluding death, because death should not be an option.
Yes.
So it is the high time that we talked about the thinking.
Yes.
Because as a man thinketh, and that says the Bible, so he is.
Yes.
Actually, someone said that you are a sum total of how you think. So when we are discussing about how a man thinketh, it is a very, very timely topic.
Wow.
Because it will come and help us to avoid these cases of
Yes.
homicide. Homicide is, in psychology we say, it is when someone kills the significant others and he kills themselves.
Okay.
Significant others are the persons that depend on you. You
yes.
see, like now, myself as a husband and the father, there are people who depend on me.
Yes.
And if I find that life has become unbearable and I know I will not be there, I can imagine they will also struggle. And because I don't want to leave them struggling, then you find that the man has gone to commit homicide. Yes. But Apostle, I would want us to, before we get deeper,
Yes.
just look at the context of this verse.
Yes.
That is in Proverbs.
Yes, Proverbs.
Proverbs 23 and verse 7.
Yes.
And there we read that as a man thinketh,
Yes.
so he is.
Yes.
Now, when I looked at that context, I realized that, first of all, this is one of the 30 wise sayings
Yes.
that were said by the wisest man of all ages,
Yes.
Solomon.
Solomon, yes.
And Solomon, when he was talking about this, he was advising someone that when you go to a
banquet,
man's
yes.
house,
Yes.
and he assembles delicacies for you,
Yes.
as you enjoy those delicacies and as you compliment him, you need to be very careful.
Yes.
Because this man appears like he's happy on the face, but he's not happy. As you enjoy the delicacies, as you eat that nyamachoma,
Yes.
as you eat those fruits, as you eat whatever he has presented, him he's counting the cost.
The cost,
The
yes.
cost.
Yes.
So what he's portraying to you is not what is
What
in
is
his
in
mind.
the heart. Oh,
In
yes.
the heart, yes. And actually, I got surprised to realize that the Bible there was saying that because of that, you will eventually vomit what you ate.
Actually, the Bible, that's what the Bible says.
Yes.
And you see, as you continue, I was also so surprised to see sometimes how we quote this verse out of context.
Sure.
Because we pull it from a point of the thinking perspective without taking the context
Yes.
of how this man thinks. Is not a positive. It was not a positive thought.
Yeah.
It was not a positive. It was not a good thing.
was
Because this
not.
man is thinking of the cost of this food.
Yes.
And it's like this is a man who is very bitter.
Yes.
He doesn't like what you are doing. So you are told to put a knife. Actually, he said that when you eat with a king,
Yeah.
put a knife on your
throat.
On your throat. So you can continue.
So now, when I looked at this, I got to understand that it was trying to bring out what we call hypocrisy.
Yes, thank you.
Now, hypocrisy, it is when you portray two different faces.
Yes.
A hypocrite is a person who has two different faces.
Yes.
He has a face that is blue and a face that is red.
Yes.
Now, wise man here, Solomon, is advising the young man here to be very careful when dealing with these people who are hypocritical.
Yes.
Because on the table they have presented delicacies,
Yes.
but in their heart and in their mind they are so bitter.
Yes.
And eventually you will vomit.
Yes.
Now, what surprised me is what is the connection between the bitterness
Yes.
this guy is feeling
Yes.
and you eventually vomiting what you ate from his house. Now that tells you that there is a very strong connection between the mind
Yes.
and the actions.
Oh yes.
That
oh, yes.
if my thinking when I'm seated here can eventually affect your behavior, as Joe Wisdom there,
Oh, yes.
that
Oh,
tells
yes.
you there is a very strong connection
Yes.
between the mind and the actions.
Yes.
And therefore we must not ignore, but take time and think. Wow. Now, when I looked at it, it is more of talking of hypocrisy about other people.
Yes.
But I also realized we can also be hypocritical with ourselves.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
And I think that's where we need to go. Whereby what is in your mind and what is in your heart is not what you are portraying.
Yes.
It's not what you are portraying.
There's no integrity. There's no agreement.
There's no agreement
between what you are saying
Yes.
and what you are thinking.
and what you are thinking.
Yes.
What you are portraying to people and what is actually happening inside you.
And as we get to that, because this debate is getting better, does that mean that it's also very possible for a father in a family, a brother at home, or whichever male it is in around our lives, to be going through a very difficult moment, but he's coming out as a very strong person?
Yes, very possible, and that's actually where I am headed. That first of all, I wanted to move us from. First of all, we have understood the context.
Yes,
of
the
verse.
context of that verse.
It is talking about hypocrisy, and quite often we talk about hypocrisy of others.
Yes.
That so and so is a hypocrite. So and so is not good.
Yes.
But we also need to look at ourselves.
Inside us, yes.
Are we truthful to ourselves? What is happening inside us? Is it what we are portraying?
Yes.
And unfortunately, I want to submit to you, Joe Wisdom,
Yes.
that many people, particularly men, they are hypocritical in their lives. What is happening inside them is not what they are portraying. It's not what they are portraying. And I think that brings us to the gist of this discussion.
Yes, yes.
Why now we need to monitor our thoughts.
Oh, yes.
So
To
that
guard our
we
minds.
ensure that what is happening in our thoughts is actually what we are practicing.
Wow, wow.
So that we can be helped, we can seek for help, and we also prevent situations that are dangerous. Now, why do we have cases of people committing suicide all of a sudden?
Yes.
And you hear people who have been left behind saying, he looked normal. I met him and everything was okay.
Yes.
He did not show any sign. It is because this person was hypocritical to himself. Wow. He never became real. He never became truthful. He was suffering inside. Now, hypocrisy is the other word of acting. Now, acting, you
yes.
cannot sustain it for long. So we need to tell men that if your thinking is not right, you are simply acting, and you cannot act for long.
Wow.
It is going to affect your actions. So we must now get
It
to a
will be
point-
reflected in
it
your
will be
actions.
reflected finally. You cannot hide it forever.
You'll break down.
Yeah, you break down. In psychology, we call it facade. The reaction formation. The reaction formation is where you want to portray what is not there. So let us now try to look at how do people think and what, how can we now influence it so that the actions that come out
Yes.
will not be dangerous.
Wow, thank you. Thank you. We are progressing on well. Thank you for watching. And I would want you to write to us on our Facebook page and on YouTube if you are watching us through YouTube. And we want to hear. We want to hear your experiences. If you are a man there, if you are a mother there, because this is a family show. And we advised men to watch together with their family.
Sure.
Because the things we are discussing here affect every part of our family. It affects the man as a father. It affects the man as a husband, as an uncle. It affects a man as a man, possibly as a single man. So write to us, and that is where we love having an interacting session with you. We want to get your feedback. Ask questions. Mwalim George is here to handle some of those difficult questions.
Sure.
Yeah. So we are looking at this man and the hypocrisy in men, and what contributes, what makes this man. Do you feel like the societal expectations, making man possibly ghost, and sometimes hide from reality? He would want to pretend that everything is okay when he knows that he is breathing from the inside. Is it culture? What are these? There's a place you are taking us.
Yes, before we get into that, allow me to draw a connection
Yes.
between three things.
Yes, sir.
One, we call it thoughts. The other one is feelings.
Yes.
And the other one is actions.
Okay.
Now, we begin with thinking, our mind.
Yes.
When you start thinking about something, it develops into emotions,
Yes.
into feelings. And then those feelings and thoughts eventually manifest as actions.
Yes.
Now, those actions, when you take an action,
Yes.
it generates results. So those results now come and influence your life.
Okay.
And not only your life, but the life of those who are near you. Now, I thought about coming here.
Yes.
And I felt nice, I must confess. And I took action. I
Yes.
came. Now I'm here.
Oh, yes.
Now the results are people are watching us. So it is affecting me, it's affecting others.
Oh, yes.
So we must be able to know there is a connection between what you think, the feelings that you have, and the actions that you take.
Wow.
Now, in our society, the way we are brought up,
Yes.
man is told to be always a man.
Yes.
And
Kuwa mgumu.
kuwa mgumu.
Mwanaume ni kukauka.
Okay. And even when things are bad,
Yeah.
never show that you are going through difficult situations.
Yes.
Actually, there is a person who talked to us some times back, and he told us that as a man,
Yes.
you must never allow your family to know that you are not able to handle any problem that faces you as a family.
So you must be a Superman.
You must be a Superman.
Yes.
Any solution that, any problem that comes, you
Yes.
must pretend that you are able,
You are able to handle.
solve.
It's
You are
in
able to
control.
handle. But that is not the reality.
Yeah, yeah.
There are many problems that will come which you can solve, and there are many problems which will come which you cannot solve. Now, society has told us
Yes.
that when you tell your family that you are not able to solve, you lose your praise as the man of the house.
You look like the weaker person.
You look like the weaker person. And now society has trained us that we must not allow our ego to be
go down.
watered down.
Yes.
So I would rather keep quiet. Pretending, you know, the Bible says even when a fool keeps quiet, he's
Yeah,
not to be wise.
yes.
So when you keep quiet, people think that you have a solution. But you don't have a solution. You are actually suffering.
Yes.
It's the high time that men
Yes.
must be able to talk their thoughts. If something is disturbing you inside,
Yes.
please speak it out. Don't be in denial. In psychology, we say there is a defense mechanism called denial.
Yes.
Now, denial is when you want to close your eyes to the reality. Kama mambo imekuwa ngumu,
Yes.
open up and speak.
Wow. Wow.
Don't keep it to yourself. Actually, what benefit is there in holding on to the cultural teachings,
Yes.
and eventually you suffer, eventually you die, eventually, or even before you die, you start developing some heart diseases, some mental related conditions.
Yes,
There
yes.
is no benefit at all. Speak out.
Do
Tell
we really
people
have
what is happening.
Mwalimu George, someone is watching us and is asking, where do I share? Do I really have you know, what we call a space, a free space, or a safe space to share? Or will I share and someone will go exposing me out there? And you know, sometimes you'll share your things and the next time you just hear people talking about it, laughing at you, and exposing yourself unnecessarily. Or where is this safe space?
Now, that is one of the major problems of sharing.
Yes.
And I would not really call it a problem. I would call it one of the fears that people have.
Oh yes, oh yes. There's a
People
fear.
wonder if I share, they will become journalists. They will go broadcasting my
Yes,
story.
yes.
But I would want to persuade people that overcome this fear of your stories being spread around. And you speak out. I would rather speak out and be healed,
Yes.
and survive, at least even to hear that so and so spoke about me, than keep quiet and die. Because even when you die, they will still speak about you.
Oh, that's true.
When you become psychotic, they will
Yes.
still speak about
Yes,
you.
yes.
So I would encourage people not to fear that.
Yes.
And if you feel that you cannot, you have no one that you can speak to, number one, we recommend you visit a counseling psychologist.
Yes. If
Now,
you feel there's something you need to
if
share.
you feel there is something you need to share,
Yes.
and you cannot trust anyone near you, anyone that you know,
So it's possible for a man to go for counseling.
it is possible.
Because
for man
as a
to go
counselor
for
also, I have
counseling.
seen a lot of women come for counseling. Men don't go for counseling.
It is very, very unfortunate. You know, men think that when they come for counseling, they appear
It's
weak.
a sign of
It's not
weakness.
appearing weak. It's actually a sign of strength,
Yes.
that you are able to identify your problems and you are ready to face them head on. Yes. So we want to encourage men to come for counseling for counseling
Sessions, yes.
counseling sessions.
Yes.
Because a professional counselor is bound by something we call confidentiality.
Confidentiality, yes.
I cannot disclose what we have shared with you. And if for whatever reasons you feel that you cannot go to a counselor,
Yes.
and you have no one to speak to, there are several methods that we normally recommend. One of them is called empty chair technique.
Okay.
Now, an empty chair technique, it is where you get into an empty room
Yes.
and you have two chairs.
Yes.
One, you sit here, and the
Yes.
other one is empty there.
Okay.
And you start speaking. You start speaking. You start speaking.
Who am I speaking to?
You are speaking to non-existent person. You
Okay.
just imagine.
Yes.
You just imagine. And you speak, you speak, you speak.
Can I assume that the person that I have an issue with is seated right
Yeah,
here?
you are assuming the person is there.
All right.
Or if it's not an issue
Yes.
with the person, because
Yes.
there are also issues that come
Yeah, personal,
away
yes.
that are not personal related. Maybe you are struggling financially.
Yes.
Just speak out. Just speak out. It will help you. If you are not able to use the empty chair technique, there is another one we call journaling.
Okay.
Journaling is where you write.
Writing
you
down.
take a pen and
Wow.
you start writing. You know, for many years I've been a teacher.
Yes. Yes.
And one of the things we tell students is that when you are reading,
Yes.
you need to write. Because we say when you ink it,
Yes.
you think it.
Wow.
And when you think it, you know it.
That's
and
a
when
breaker
you
point.
know it,
Yeah.
you are able to control it.
Wow.
There is a connection. I'm here to do a study and discover how it happens. When you are writing something,
Yes.
it moves from the pen
Yes.
through your fingers and it travels all the way to your mind, and
Yes.
you start thinking about it.
Yes. Yes.
The reverse also is true. That when you are writing about something that has been disturbing your mind, it starts now flowing from your mind and it comes
paper.
all the way to the paper.
Wow,
It
wow.
moves from what
So it's
we were calling-
therapeutic.
Yes,
It's
it's therapeutic.
release.
It's what in chemistry we used to call movement from areas of high
High
concentration
to
to
low
low
concentration.
concentration.
That was diffusion.
Yes, diffusion.
Oh, yes.
I can see you are good in chemistry.
Yes.
And actually, Apostle and also our viewers,
Yes.
I want to submit to us that in life we have issues,
Yes.
and no one is immune from issues.
Oh, yes.
When you are crying about financial difficulties, you are not the only one.
Yes, that's
when
true.
you are talking about marital difficulties, you are not the only one, nor the first one, nor the last one.
Yes.
When you are talking about business issues, so life issues will always happen.
So a man can be vulnerable.
A man is vulnerable.
Yes.
Actually, I would say a man is vulnerable, and actually the most vulnerable.
Yes.
Because he's the head of the house.
Yes.
You know, my bishop tells me, my bishop, Dr. Paul Habwe, he tells me, that as a man, I start there at the gate.
Yes.
And there are some battles that are meant for my family.
Yes.
And before they get to my family,
Yes.
they have to deal with me.
Oh, yes.
Just like what the Bible says, that if you want to get into the house of a strong man,
you must bind him.
You must first of all bind him. So as a man, you are vulnerable to very many wars.
Wow, wow.
Yours and for the family.
Yes.
So you have a very big exposure. And therefore you must not allow yourself to contain these things in your head.
Wow.
Actually, if you look at the mortality rates in Kenya, you'll find that men are dying at the age of 54 on average.
Yeah, that one I can agree.
Compared
I've
with
seen-
women.
Yes,
yeah.
I have seen
Go
that.
to any village, you find the widows are more than widowers.
Yeah,
In a village.
yeah, yeah.
It's because men have refused to talk. Now,
To
I
open
was,
up,
I
yeah.
was on this point that life will always present these issues.
Yes.
Now, when they come, I wish this one was transparent. Zinaanza kujaa. Zinajaa.
Yes.
So zimekuja hapa, kesho hivi, kesho hivi. And as they continue feeling,
Yes.
you are able to contain them. But it will come to a point when it will explode.
Yes.
Now, when you come for therapy and you are talking to me as a counseling psychologist,
Yes.
these things now you are emptying them.
Wow.
You are emptying.
You are downloading.
You are downloading.
Yes.
You are downloading. And when you download, now you create space.
Wow.
Now you can go and take more challenges. But when you do not empty, again, if I refer to my physics, by the way, I was very good in sciences.
Yes, yes, yes.
There is a
that
law-
one I know.
There is a law used to call Hooke's law. Now, Hooke's law used to say that if you stretch a wire beyond elasticity limit and you continue applying external force, it will break. So that is what happens in our mind. If you pile more and more and more, and you are not emptying, it will reach what we call the elasticity limit. And any further application, it will just break.
It will break, yes.
Now, don't wait for that elasticity limit, my brother.
Wow.
Speak out.
Wow.
Vent out. There are many avenues.
Wow.
Yes, you need to speak out.
Wow, I think what you're sharing is profound, because I've seen there are people following us. Linias Joe, this is my relative, my wife. She's watching. Mwaneki Nyakeo, Anthony Kamau. I don't know whether Anthony, write to us whether you can remember Hooke's law. Ama ilipitia chemistry. Vile naonaga ukiuza mashamba. We need to know whether you did Hooke's law. There's Bonnie Joroge and Maggie Kimija. Maggie, I know Maggie is your relative.
He is my relative.
Yes, and it's good to have all of you following us. And we are talking about a man finding a safe space to share. And if you don't feel safe, possibly with your close friends, get a counseling psychologist who is bound by confidentiality as a value, you know, and whatever you share is between you and him. And if you have a friend that you feel you can share, you know, some things also need assistance.
Yeah, sure.
Possibly maybe it's a financial issue. Possibly sharing with a counselor may not do much. But you can share with a friend that, you know, there's something that I always say as we go for a break, that every man needs another man.
Sure.
And that is very well demonstrated in the word. There was a man who was at the pool of Bethesda for 38 years. That man had seated there. And when Jesus was passing by, Jesus said, Jesus asked him, "Do you want to be healed?" And do you know what the man said? The man said, "I have no man."
I have no man.
I have no man. So the problem was not the angel. He says that the angel has faithfully been coming and stirring up the water.
Yeah, sure.
But I have no man to put me into the well and receive my healing. So that man had an issue with relationships. Because where are your relatives? Where are your friends? This man was a lone ranger. Actually, I would want to, when I go to heaven, I would want to see that man.
you see him behind the tent.
Because I would want him to explain by use of a diagram. How comes that he didn't even have family members who could come and dip him to the waters? So there are men there's a man watching us right now. And the battles you are fighting, the problem is not God. The problem is nobody. The problem is that you have no man. Because the solution to your problem is a man away. Please find a safe space and a safe place to share and pour out your heart. The more you download, the more you have free space, just like our phones. The more you keep deleting some of the files that are not useful, you keep creating more. Because there is a time that your phone says, create more space, not enough space, and you have to declutter whatever is filling your phone, so that you can also accommodate new information. So we are going for a break, a very short break. We are coming back. Please take this opportunity to write to a friend and let them know what is happening on Elevate, on Man Unveiled show.
Sure.
They say that it takes a man to get the best out of another man. And our discussion today is about as a man thinketh. And do you know what someone said? Someone said that minds are like parachutes. They work best when they are open.
Sure.
So we are here to open up our mind, our understanding, so that we can walk the journey together as men and heal each other along the process. And that brings stability in our families. See you. Yes, welcome back. Exactly 2 minutes. We are faithful stewards. You know, they say, there's a man called Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee once said that if you want to enjoy life, take care of time. Because it's the stuff that makes life. So it's good to take care of time. And we are back here. Our conversation is very interesting. We have people who are following us. And I would want to acknowledge Anthony. Anthony is saying that he knows the Hooke's law. He can remember. How sure that, but he was a bright guy, so I have no doubt. We also have a minute. I want to see some of these comments. Yeah, I'll be acknowledging some of the people who are following us on YouTube. But basically, I want us to look at the other half. Because we have looked at the drivers. We are looking at the drivers. The drivers of the thoughts in the minds of men. You know, there's one philosopher who once said that the mind is the armory of thoughts where the weapons of your psychological warfare are forged. So the mind is a key component in the life of a man. Sure. Actually, they say that your mentality determines your realities. Sure. So I want you to take us forward and looking at what are the drivers. What is this thing that shapes? What are the things that shapes the thinking of men? Yes, sir.
Okay. Before I get into that, allow me to conclude on what we had discussed before the break.
Yes.
And we have said it's good for men to go and share because it helps to empty.
Yes.
I wanted to add another reason why it is important to share.
Yes.
It is because the problem that you are going through, people are already going through it.
You are not alone.
You are not alone. All people have already gone through it.
Yes.
So the solution is just next to you.
Wow.
And for the time I have been practicing counseling psychology,
yes,
I've realized that most of the problems only need a change of perspective, a change of mind, a change of how you see things. And you are there, you realize, oh, how comes I could not see this as a solution? So, but that can only be achieved when you have spoken to someone else who now helps you to see things in a different way.
Oh, yes.
So I want to encourage men and all persons by extension, it is very, very important to go and speak out.
Wow.
Now, coming to your question.
Actually, they say the problem is not the problem. The problem is how you see the problem.
Yes, the problem is how you see the problem. Yes.
Carry on, carry on.
It's not the problem. Good. That's a bugger point.
That's a bugger point. Anthony, I think up on the bugger point.
Now, what are the drivers of our thoughts?
Yes.
One of the drivers of our thoughts is our childhood experiences. How we
it can affect a mature man.
It can affect
a 50-year-old man.
Actually,
childhood experience.
Yes, actually, let me take a bit of time and explain this.
Oh yes, oh yes.
They say that when someone is born, hii kichwa hii inakuanga empty inside. I hope you can imagine.
Okay.
We call it tabula rasa. And they tabula rasa.
Tabula rasa.
Tabula rasa.
Andika hapo tabula rasa. Utaenda kutisha watu nao kwa estate.
Tabula rasa is an empty plate. It's empty. Hii kichwa yote hivi huku ndani inakuanga empty.
Okay.
When you are born.
Okay.
Now, any material that is pumped to you inakibia ikienda huku ndani. And then they also tell us the mind is divided into three. There is the forehead, the middle head, and the back end, the medulla oblongata, those who did biology.
Yes.
And now they say, when materials come to you, you push them to the far end.
Okay.
Any material that gets here to the rear end,
is the medulla now.
The medulla, or what in psychology, in fluid theory would call the id, or the unconscious mind. It is never forgotten.
Okay.
And it becomes unconscious. Then what is here at the middle is called can be forgotten. Okay. And what is also here in the rear can also be forgotten. Okay. And they also tell us any material that has not moved beyond subconscious or the middle, it can always come out.
Okay.
When you
can recall it.
You can recall it, and it can also exit.
Okay. Okay.
That's why we say out of sight, out of mind.
Yes.
Now, when someone is a child, any material that is given, it moves direct to the subconscious. To the subconscious.
Yes.
Because this thing, this head is
Yes.
empty.
Yes.
So material inakuja ikienda bio. Ni
Yeah.
kama una drive along highway
Yes,
na
yes.
hakuna traffic. So unaenda tu bio.
Yes, yes.
Hakuna traffic.
Ama una park.
Ama
unaendaga huko mwisho.
Unaenda huko mwisho. But as you age now, kichwa imejaa mambo mingi.
Yes.
So material haziingii haraka.
Zinakuja hapa mbele.
Haziingii haraka. And
Parking imejaa.
Na that's why some of us who have done some adult education,
Yes.
you can bear witness that you struggled with school compared with how you were struggling when you are young.
Oh, yes.
Because when you are young, kichwa haikuwa na mambo mingi, material ilikuwa inaingia haraka.
Oh yes.
But ukiwa mkubwa kama saa hii, kichwa imejaa mambo mingi
Mambo ya
sana.
school fees.
Ninafikiria mambo ya
Na hii
school fees,
curriculum.
nafikiria CBC, nafikiria mambo ya rent, nafikiria nini. Sasa nikiambiwa
na mambo ya tax,
na mambo ya tax ndio hii.
Yes.
So kichwa imejaa. Now my point was
Yes, sir.
those materials that we got when we were young ziliingia hapa.
Yes.
And now they affect how we think.
Wow.
Actually, in counseling psychology, we say an adult is not far away from the child.
Okay.
An adult is
Explain
not far
that,
away from the child.
Yes.
So the behaviors that you are exhibiting today, they could be to a greater extent influenced by what you experienced when you were young.
Your childhood experiences.
Yes. Actually, when people come to us in counseling, one of the things that we seek to take people through is a journey of their childhood.
Yes.
From year 0 to 12 years.
Wow.
What happened to
The formation stage.
Yes, those things that were deposited there because they influence how you behave.
Wow.
And they come when emotions have been aroused.
Ah.
That's why you see, and I'm sure you might on something like this. When someone is very bitter,
Yes.
if English is not their mother tongue, they forget English. They speak their mother tongue.
Yes.
It is because what is in the conscious and the subconscious is usually forgotten when emotions are aroused. What only remains is what is in the medulla oblongata.
Yes.
Yes. And that is now what affects us. Now, when you go through life issues, maybe it's a marital challenge, it's a financial challenge, it's a work-related challenge. Those things create emotions.
Yes.
Now, when they create emotions, they make you to forget what is here in front.
Yeah.
And you only now work with what is here. So we need to check what is your childhood experiences. They
As we
determine-
check the childhood experience, let us check what is happening at, from this point. We have Bernard Waroe. Niko hapa pia. Mimi hiyo science wachana nayo. You know, there are people who suffered from two syndromes. And Bishop Waroe knows.
Yes.
For him, he didn't belong to that category. There was one category who suffered from CRA syndrome. Kwa class walikuwa wanaonekana wako sawa. But ikikuja ni kwa exam, CRA syndrome was manifesting. Inaitwa can't remember anything. CRA syndrome.
I thought it's Commission for Revenue Allocation.
Me can't remember anything. So unaguka mtihani. Anthony Kamau, yes, Huxlow, I remember. There's Mishek Mushomba tuned in. Thank you, Mishek. Beatrice Chuchu. Great discussion there. Thank you so much. Tabura Rasa, empty head.
Empty head, yes.
And don't use this against other people. We are not teaching you to insult others. So, wow, great discussion. You can pick up.
Now, that is a major thing that
yes,
we need
childhood
to check.
experience.
Childhood experiences. And there is something we had mentioned when we were off break.
Yes.
That we normally call it family emotional processes.
Yes.
How you used to see your father deal with issues.
Yes.
How you used to see your mother deal with issues.
Okay.
Chances are you are also likely to think in the same direction.
So we can inherit.
You can inherit your thinking pattern.
Wow.
How you saw your parents deal with issues. We call them family emotional processes.
Yes.
So we also need to check whether that is influencing how you are thinking.
So it's easier for a man to behave like his father.
Yes, it's very easy. Very easy.
I agree, because there are people who grew up where the father was abusing the mother, and at some point those people are struggling with it.
Even now.
Yes.
I have a friend who I told that at times I go home early to be with my children and my wife.
Yes.
He told me how. Me, I never saw my dad come to the house before 9 or 10. So why should I go?
Yeah.
So you see him,
Yes.
the only reason he has not to go home early,
Because
even
he
when
never saw
he
the
never
dad.
saw his father go home.
What do you say,
Yes.
monkey see, monkey do?
Yes.
Yes.
So that is also something
Wow.
that we need to check. So we have already said childhood experiences,
Yes.
family processes.
Yes.
Then the other influence
Family
is
emotional processes.
Family emotional processes. The other thing that influences our thinking is the external factors.
Wow.
What we are seeing and what we are hearing from people.
Wow.
And in what we are hearing from people and what they are telling us, there is something we call introjection.
Okay.
Introjection is where you allow the opinions of others to influence your life.
Introjection.
You value, it's called introjection. You value what they are saying. And when they tell you, let's go and do this, even when you are not fully convinced or persuaded the benefits of doing it, you go to do it. Okay. So we need to check whether you are being influenced by the others. We also need to look at what is it that you are feeding your mind with.
Okay.
The media.
Yes.
What are you watching?
Yes.
If we revisit the issue of suicide,
yes.
Are you watching stories of people committing suicide? Are you watching stories of people who are justifying suicide?
Yes.
Or are you watching even stories of people who are committing the gender-based violence?
Yes.
And that they try to justify. So the more you start feeding yourself with this,
yes.
the more now you normalize it.
Wow.
The more you normalize it.
It will be easier for you to accommodate it.
Yes, and actually that brings me to what I had said about the mind.
Yes.
Being an empty whatever,
yes.
an empty slate.
Yes.
The more you expose yourself to things,
yes.
the more they get deeper into your mind.
Yes.
And
yes.
when they come here to the id, or they come to the
subconscious,
yes. Or unconscious, they eventually start to affect your behavior.
Wow.
So you need to be very careful on what is it that you are feeding on.
Wow.
Because eventually it will affect you. That's why you hear some people saying, I don't know how I reacted. I don't know why even I did that. Why you don't know is because your unconscious affected you.
Wow.
Yes.
I think I'm liking the part that I think our viewer can agree, because that has really affected people. And we need to be very categorical at this point, because we are speaking to real men, people who are watching us. Thank you, Nesh Nemo, for following. It's good to see you here. We are talking about real issues and things that things that men are going through right now. That you can learn a habit from your father that is a bad habit.
Yes.
And sometimes you keep justifying that this is what my father used to do.
Yeah.
Now, I want you to address something before possibly we go to the next one. Is it possible to unlearn?
Very, very possible. Very, very possible to unlearn. Actually, someone said, there is a theory we call the behavioral theory.
Yes,
cognitive behavioral theory.
Yes.
And they just give an example of a dog, how they used to bring food,
yes,
and then this dog would hear the steps or
yes.
the bell, and it started to have those reflex conditioning.
Okay.
So it is possible to learn.
It starts salivating.
Yes, it starts salivating. It is possible to learn something, and it's also possible to unlearn something.
Wow.
And I actually saw someone, I think I saw is Bishop Wallowe, who had shared something like that, that the idiots of our days now are people who cannot unlearn what they learned and learn something new.
Yes.
Because times are changing.
Yes, that's
times
true.
are changing.
That's
you
true.
need to unlearn. So what you learned from your fathers,
yes.
what you learned from your background, you can be able to learn.
Knowledge is progressive.
You can be able to unlearn it. You can
Yes.
be able to unlearn it. And this one is confirmed even in the Bible.
Yes.
When the Bible says in Romans that be renewed by
Yes,
the
be
changing
transformed
of your mind.
Yes, by renewal of your mind.
By the renewal of your mind. So it is possible to renew your mind.
Wow.
By now changing what you are feeding your mind on and bringing a new diet.
Wow.
Starting to practice again in
Yes.
a different direction.
Wow. Wow.
Yes, it is very, very much possible, and I have seen some people change.
Yes.
And therefore, even you as a man, if you are struggling,
Wow.
you can always change.
Wow.
There is room for
Wow.
change.
Wow.
Yes.
Expose yourself to the right information. Keep learning.
And be committed
Yes.
and meditate on it.
Oh, yes.
Actually, even the Bible says, keep on meditating. Why does
Yes.
the Bible, if you look at the Bible, I know you are a pastor.
Yes.
You are familiar with this.
Yes.
There are various places where the Bible tells us, meditate on this.
Yes.
Meditate.
Actually,
Why
Joshua
does it-
was told to meditate.
Why
The
does
book of the law.
God insist that we meditate? He insists we meditate
Yes.
because the more you meditate, the more hiyo maneno inaanza hapa kwa forehead.
Yes.
Inaingia kwa kichwa, inaenda mpaka huko nyuma. Na ikishafika huko nyuma, inaanza kuinfluence your thoughts, ina influence your feelings,
Yes.
and eventually ina influence your actions.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Wow.
And the results now also change. So
There's a
possible.
gentleman here, Mwalim. Jeremiah Kireri, Jeremiah Gore Kireri. I call him Dr. Jeremiah.
Okay.
He was our CU chairman.
Okay.
For many years
Okay.
in college. He's saying, we thank God, I'm watching from Getuge, product of our thought.
Good.
He is a man I have seen walk the journey. And I can tell you what he is doing right now. He's a product of his thoughts.
Oh, his thoughts.
Yes.
He has been able to do much out of the thoughts.
So you can still use that positively.
Yes, you can use your mind to do something to do something that is positive and stop what is negative.
Yes.
Yes. And we want to insist that it is possible to change the mind.
Wow.
And there is something else you had said. Well, I think I should also have mentioned about the determinants of how we think.
Yes.
Is personality. And there are people who say, me, I'm hot-tempered. Me, I behave like this. Me, I behave like this. And they say that we cannot change. But I want to tell them it is possible to change.
Wow.
And even if you not be able to change, you can be able to become aware of your situation and arrest those things that trigger you to behave in that particular direction. Yeah.
Now, Mwalimu, because we have, sorry for that, now, because we have looked at the causes and the triggers, possibly there are people asking here, how can one do away with a habit learned at an early age and, as Mostre said, is a stronghold? You know, people like going, this is a stronghold, this is in our bloodline. You know, this is a principality in our family. As a man, how are you able to determine now the thoughts, to shape? How can you shape the thoughts? Now that you have been affected by your childhood experience, family emotions, processes, and the exposure and experiences that you have had, the company you have joined, the knowledge that you have had, now that you have gone through all that process, how now do we adopt good manners?
As we normally say this, the first thing is to discover the problem.
Okay. Wow.
What is that you are saying you rant? What is it that you are saying is in your family lineage? Maybe it's about violence.
Yes.
It's about misuse of finances.
Being high-tempered or hot-tempered.
Or high-tempered.
Sisi huwa tunahiyokero.
Tunahiyokero.
Hata mama yangu anajua. Huwa nahiyokero.
Hata wale tulisoma nao wanajua.
Yes.
First of all, identify that problem.
Wow.
Once you identify the problem,
yes,
the second step is gather data on how you can change that.
Wow.
You gather data, and there is a lot of information. Consult, talk to people.
Yes.
They will help you. Once you gather data, then select the one that is relevant.
Wow.
Select the one that is relevant.
Now, this gathering data, this means you research.
You research. You research on your own. You talk to people, counseling psychologists like myself,
yes,
or even the spiritual authorities, or even
you can talk to your pastor and tell them what you are struggling with.
Yes. Gather information.
Yes.
Then once you get information, narrow down on the one that you can implement. Then once you have narrowed down, now take action. And I want to tell people that taking action is not very easy.
Yes.
Because this is where I have heard many people in my counseling psychology sessions.
Yes, sir.
And they tell me, no, it's not possible to change. I tried and I failed.
Yes.
But remember, this is something you have built over several years, maybe 40 years, maybe 30 years. You cannot expect to demolish it in one day.
In a day,
So you will have to be committed. Unajaribu tena unaanguka, unajaribu unaanguka, unajaribu. But when you are committed, they say persistence wears out resistance. Yes. So if you persist,
you can pin that there
and buy and buy. You'll be able to change yourself.
Wow.
It is possible. But first of all, know the problem.
You acknowledge the problem.
Get information.
Yes.
Pick on the right information. Now this is where we say you come up with the plans, we come up with the goals. Then number 4, implement or take
So you're saying you must be intentional.
You must be intentional.
Not just collecting data.
Not just correct. You know, very many people have data.
Oh yes.
Actually, the other day I was listening to you and you are giving us components of wisdom.
Yes.
You are talking of knowledge.
Yes.
You are talking of understanding
and
application.
Yes.
Many people have knowledge.
Yes.
And several others have what? Understanding.
Yes.
But very few have application.
Yes. Wisdom.
Wisdom.
Yes.
So go beyond the stage of gathering data and start implementing. But I'm insisting at the stage of implementing, you may be discouraged because things do not just change immediately.
Oh yes.
Appreciate this is a habit you have built over a long period of time. It may also require some considerable time to change. So don't give up.
There are men who are struggling with smoking. There's a man, and they smoke secretary. There are men who are struggling with drugs. All right? There are men who are struggling with alcohol. And they do it very secretively. Actually, nobody knows except the wife. Actually, some of them watching us are elders in their churches. Unajifichaga unagoga biri unarudi. And you are right there watching us. We are trying to help you how you can come out of these habits. Because possibly you don't like them. That's why you hide from them. And as someone say that what you are not ready to confront, you cannot conquer.
Yeah, sure.
So you need to be intention. The problem we have even in this country is not a lack of data. People are doing surveys everywhere, but those files are still in the offices. So what you are saying here is that you must be intentional.
You must implement.
You must implement.
The late Dr. Miles Monroe said,
yes, sir. Yes,
that once you plan your work,
yes,
you must work out your plan.
Once you dream, you must wake up
and work out the dream.
Yes,
yes. Otherwise, most of us are just dreaming.
Wow.
Most of us are just having very
good intentions.
Ideas. Very
good intentions.
Good intentions.
Wishes.
Yes. But ikuja kwa ground, nothing. It is time that you started implementing.
Wow.
And I'm insisting at the initial stages when you record failures,
yes,
when you record deviations from the plan,
yes,
don't be discouraged.
Wow.
You are still on track.
Wow.
You are still on track. There is something we call monitoring and evaluation.
Oh, yes.
You keep on evaluating.
Yes.
Unaona hapa nime
hata kama ume backslide you can still get back.
Yes, you
can. Backslide then you front slide.
Yes, yeah, you front slide. Na tunasonga.
Yes.
If the end of a matter is more important than the beginning.
And it doesn't matter how slow you are moving.
Yes.
There's someone says that if you cannot run, then walk.
You then walk.
If you cannot walk,
then crawl.
Then crawl. If you cannot crawl, they say ensure that you are making progress.
Yes, whatever way, but ensure that there is some movement.
We say that anyhow is a how.
Is a how.
Provided you are making progress. So I think we are able now to handle the aspect of implementation.
Sure.
And walking the journey. Now, walking this journey, do you need people?
You need people. You need people. You need
what do we need to walk this journey?
You need what we call support system.
Wow.
You cannot work as a lone ranger. You need people.
Yes.
You need people who you can share ideas with.
Yes.
People who can be your mentors.
Yes.
People who can be accountability partners.
Oh, yes.
People who can give you suggestions and new ways. People who can cheer you on.
Yes.
Yes. So don't walk alone. If you want to walk faster, you walk alone. But if you want to go far, you walk with people.
Others. Yes.
Identify people who will help you.
Wow.
And when you realize so and so is not helping you,
yes,
move out of that person and
dismember yourself.
Yes, go to someone else. I saw something that had been written by another pastor friend of mine called Pastor Kariz.
Yes.
He had said that don't focus so much on who you want to be with,
yes,
but focus on who you want to become.
Wow, you attract your kind.
You attract your kind.
Wow.
Because most of us are affected by who we want to be with.
We are so careful.
And we forget what we want to become. So I have brought that to say that you need people.
Wow, that's
but
true.
As you go along, if you realize these people are not helping you to achieve your goal, you dismember them, and then you proceed, you get others.
Wow.
But don't go alone.
Wow, wow.
Yeah.
So
and that is the problem that is affecting men.
Yes.
Men go alone.
Yeah.
They
are suffering alone.
You are suffering alone. Speak to people. Speak to people.
Wow.
Hii mambo siyo yako pekee. There are many people who are even going through worse than what you are going through.
There was something, and maybe you can mention it as we conclude. There is something called catharsis.
Yes.
The healing that comes through sharing.
Yes. Yes. Is what I was
Speak
calling
about it.
What I was calling the emptying.
Yes.
When you are talking about something,
yes,
it brings catharsis, that release of energy, that release of that captivity.
Yes.
You feel so nice. Actually, I have had sessions where clients come and they don't want your intervention.
Yes.
They just want you to listen.
Listen to them. Yeah.
They just talk.
That's okay enough.
And at the end of the session, you ask them, "How are you feeling?"
That's also
they tell you, "I'm feeling good."
That's what happens. Even there are some people watching us, and you are watching with your wife there. Sometimes your wife just want to speak.
Yeah.
And they're asking you a question and answering at the same time.
Yes.
So it's not about the idea. It's not about your thought.
Yes.
It's about they wanted to say something, and they already have a solution. There's someone here as we conclude saying Kengori Gethi. This is a reality. One of the billionaires we have around.
Oh, that's great.
Knowledge is useful. It's only useful if you apply it. Thank you, Kingori. Then we have Samuel K. Dahi saying that how can one do away with the habit? Yeah, I think that we must unlearn to learn new ways. And we want to appreciate all of us for watching us and for following us. The conversation continues. I think we'll continue to look at the issues that are affecting men. I want in a minute, Mwalim, to say something as we are parting short. Because we have handled so many issues and helping people how they can overcome these issues. Give us your parting shot and what you would want this man watching us right now to take home.
What I would want this man to take home is that mind is very, very important.
Yeah.
It influences your feelings, and it influences the actions and the results around your life. Wow. Then we have also said that when issues of life come, they accumulate. And if you hold them for long, they will finally explode. Now, before they explode, come and speak out. And if you have no one to speak out to, come to us. I'm a counseling psychologist. I'm just based here at Bazaar Plaza, and many others. You can be able to talk to us and we'll be able to help you. Don't die with your problems. Speak out. It's possible.
Wow. Give them your number possibly, because
my number is
someone who need to see you.
My number is 0720 322 961. 0720 322-961. We are called CHACHAM Consultants. We exist to empower minds and businesses.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm a financial expert and a counseling psychologist based here at the Bazaar Plaza.
Your social media handles?
My social media handles, you can get me as George Kimani in Facebook, and in YouTube, you can get me as Mwalimu George Kimani. Mwalimu George Kimani. I'm available 24/7, at least on call.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us. And we are going to wrap it up there. I am Joe Wisdom, and Joe Wisdom is an author. I've authored wonderful books, Wisdom for the Marketplace, Mastering Your Marketplace Assignment. I've also done another book called Wisdom for Wealth, Money and the Spirit of Wealth, Understanding Wealth and Money. And I've also done another one for the single people. If you are single, if you are not married, you don't need to be worried. I have a book for you called Wisdom for Relationships. It says that love is a command, but relationship is a choice. Until next time, keep it man unveiled. God bless you. Have a good night.